Buddy.
Make an amendment to the agenda because it says on here potential motions, but I just want to remind everybody that we're not going to do any motions before February 3rd. So today it's discussion, deliberation, but not motion. So with that, can I get an approval of the agenda? A second. Peter? Anthony? Joe? Martin? Joanna? Chris?
Aye.
Jeremy?
I couldn't hear what it was we're talking about. Sorry.
And then Jeremy.
Just say yes.
To approve
Yes.
the- Okay, and Jill's and I. And now. Can I do public comment now? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open it for public comment. And I am going to close public comment. Okay, so the first article that we are going to look at, well, one quick comment is,
Hello.
Hello.
hi, did you have a public comment, sir?
Yes, I couldn't hear your instructions in the beginning, so I don't know if you were holding public comment until agenda items actually come up.
Yeah,
or-
no, I opened it for public comment, and if
Okay.
you have a public comment, you can go ahead and say that. I did close
Yeah.
it, but I'm happy to open it up again.
Okay, I would like to do that. In the beginning of the meeting, your microphone was muted, I believe. So
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. Yes, I'll make this very quick. I'm speaking in reference to, I believe it's Article F, which is on your agenda this evening, in reference to the wind farm. Your microphones are off today. I'm not quite sure why.
Jill, if he has something that's an
Yeah.
article we're gonna discuss today, I think he has to wait.
Yeah, we should wait till.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are gonna talk about that article later, so if you want to make your comment while we discuss that and hear from the proponents of that article, then you can wait for that time.
Okay, I would like to
Okay.
do that. And
More relevant
again,
at that time.
we couldn't hear your instructions in the beginning. That's why I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So public comment is now closed. We are gonna open this up and talk about citizen warrant article D. I guess we don't really know what the number, do we know what the number is yet after last night?
Yeah, we do actually, but
Is it
I don't
40
remember. I
some-
think it's 83 or 81 or something.
I think they haven't finished numbering the warrant
They
articles
might
yet.
change, it's true.
Okay, and so Ms. Rayport is gonna come and bring her article forward. Just as a little background, I think you all know there is another article on the warrant from the NPEDC, from the commission. There are some differences between these articles. And they have been trying to come together with a compromise solution, which I think we would all really like to see. And they had one meeting with a facilitator, and I think that moved things in the right direction. And then some other things have changed. So they've had a lot of meetings about this over the last few months. And I think Ms. Rayport wants to come and give us an update on that. And then she now has decided that she has, I think, has some things to, in addition to her article, maybe more of a compromise from her end of it. And she wants to talk about that, and I'm fine with that to
Is this
listen.
the appropriate place to discuss that, or shouldn't she be doing that
I-
at a planning board meeting?
I told her that it was fine for her to bring her compromise to us,
Okay.
and we can listen to it, and then hopefully everybody will talk about that later. But we've heard from her about her article the last 2 years, and this seems to be a newer version, and I think it's the appropriate place to talk about it. So, you want to come up to the table?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hillary Hedges Rayport.
Just real
Hi.
quick, Hillary, we're trying to put up your,
Oh, okay.
um,
Well, I'll just give a little, just some housekeeping. So I'm also a member of the planning board and a member of the NPDC, appointed by the planning board to the NPDC, but I'm here as a citizen petitioner. I'm not here as a member of either of those bodies, although I do have a 2023B form on file, and I do speak and vote at the NPDC on this topic as well. So This is a pretty well-known article. I have been the lead petitioner since I first brought it to town meeting for ATM in 2022. It is about long-range planning and how we do long-range planning. It doesn't say that we should do one thing or another. It does add conservation and preservation-minded language as one of the many things that we plan for, but it's really just about the governance. So this is an article about governance and our planning commission. So we have proposed restructuring the planning commission, and this is actually the fourth article that will come to the floor, and two of those have been voted positively. Nonetheless, I think we've been bringing changes and talking to the NP and EDC, who has different ideas about how they would like to change. So for this town meeting, we, for the first time, have something from the NP and EDC that's on the warrant now. The warrant's closed, so both of these articles are on the warrant. And there's been, I think, well, I've certainly sincerely had a desire to bring these articles together. And I think especially with my experience being colleagues with all of the commissioners, I think I have an idea about what the sticking points are. The NPDDC agreed unanimously to have some additional talks, and I convened there have been hundreds and hundreds of people who've signed these articles. This year, there's 18 people who've signed it. So we've convened anybody who wanted to join among that group, as well as some of the folks that have been particularly vocal in the past. I mean, we've testified at the State House and been working on this for a while. So we also came to some idea about, what was important to us. And we had a meeting of the petitioner group and the NPDDC on January 6th with a facilitator, and I think it was positive. I mean, we did identify a lot of areas. The article that we came forward with was intended to be a compromise position, so I would say the points of difference are narrow but significant. So we had a positive meeting with the assistance of the facilitator. We followed up with a second meeting, and, after the meeting, it just seemed to me that we did not accomplish what we really sought to accomplish in that meeting. Neither side did. We left, it ended kind of abruptly, and reflecting back on the meeting, I spoke with the other petitioners. Again, I'm one of a group, so I'm here speaking, but we did have consensus around something that we could bring forward. So I'm here today. I'd like to answer questions about the initiative. Any questions you have, I'd like to do my best to answer them. But I'd also like to present what we think could be an acceptable compromise, because we want to do what's in the best interest of Nantucket. We really believe in what we put on the warrant. We really want that to pass, but I think better than getting everything you want is to all come together and have something that works. So I'm here to answer questions and present that, and I will stop talking now and I can do whatever you like. Yes.
I'm sure. I come from a corporate environment, but to me, to have a planning function that doesn't have the CEO or the town manager and the CFO is not smart. And planning is all about managing risk and managing opportunity. And if you don't have the CEO and you don't have, or someone representing the CEO or the CFO, money is a constraint for an awful lot of stuff. And so to do planning without them, there are, I think, there were 5, or I've lost track, but people from the conservation, the planning board, they're the gatekeepers for zoning. Why do we need 3 or 5 of those? They have planning in their name, but is that why they're there? Doesn't make any sense. Okay, you don't need 3 people, I don't think, or 5 people to make sure that the zoning is right. You might need 1. Just to say, and so I had a hard time with the concept. I've asked Libby and Brian what they think about the article. I haven't heard response.
Well, they're not able to be here today because they're all at a conference actually, so we can probably get feedback from them at a later time. But what I would like to do is for you to go over what the compromise article is, because some of these things have changed. So if you could elaborate,
Yeah.
he has the chart.
Okay, yeah, we don't have 3 or 5
You don't have
members
to do
on our proposal, so, but I'll go through it.
Well,
Yeah.
Can't email.
Oh,
When you
through,
refer-
through the chair, Jill, do you want to take more questions or?
I want to wait on questions and let Hillary, sorry, Martin, it was
I
a
have one
process question.
When you refer to "we" in your comments, who is that "we"? Is
So
it you and your associates or whoever is supporting this proposition, or is it the entire planning process?
right, so when I'm saying we, I'm referring specifically to the 18 people who signed the petition that's on the warrant, but that group is also encompasses anyone who signed the petition in the past. The STM 2024 petition had 211 signatories.
Okay.
So they can opt in if they want, but I'm really talking about the petitioners because it's a legal process, you know, they've all petitioned, so they all have rights.
Thank you.
Some other committee members. Person Jeremy online.
Okay, Jeremy, you want to ask a question? I
Yeah,
want to get
Hillary,
to her talking about her compromise is, so if you want to wait for your question, then we could listen to her first, but if you.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
Chris, how about you?
Just a quick process question. I just want to know if what we're about to hear, the petitioners will be offering as an amendment at town meeting. Is that the direction this is going?
So my current thinking is that we would like you to for this amendment. And we would like,
Finance committee, but you mean?
yes, and we would like the NPDDC to agree to that and ask you to offer it. And if the NPDDC is not going to agree, I will say that we'll probably just go forward and try to pass our article unamended because it really is our first choice.
Can I interrupt for once?
Yes.
Just, there's someone in the waiting room just named David. So.
No.
I have to hold the meeting and have a mic.
Yeah, guys, we're not doing, it's not a webinar, so we might have the same problem from the other day.
No, please. no.
Oh, God. If it
Madam
is, we just
Chair.
have to flag her.
Madam Chair, he did leave and come back, so I mean, he waited a while, he left because we didn't let him in and he came back again, but now he's left again, yeah.
Oh, I let him in. He did.
Oh, you did, okay, good, can we
Ask
ask?
him to identify himself
Yeah,
with his
David.
last name, but I mean, do you really want? Can you just, David, if you're on, can you type in your last name, please?
It should be Dave Iverson.
Is it? Okay.
Is it Dave?
Okay, yeah,
He
we
just
don't
shows
know
up
that.
as Dave.
Texting me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good to know.
okay.
I hope it's not a different Dave.
Zoom.
Thank you.
The chair of our select board would like to speak, so can you unmute her?
Sure. Yes. Don, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Muted.
Don, you're muted.
Sorry, okay, I'm on now. I couldn't raise my hand. That function's not showing. The electronic hand, that is. I just wanted to say that I have spoken to Mrs. Rayport about this compromise, and I think it's a workable solution. I would like to see essentially the Finance Committee recommend one proposal for town meeting. Having these competing proposals at town meeting is very challenging for the voters and just it's not a productive way of doing this. I think we should send something up to the state that revises the membership, but is also will be able to be supported by the petitioners. And John Kitchener tried to make a pretty similar amendment to what she's about to lay out to you at the last meeting. And I would like to see the Finance Committee find a way to craft a motion that supports this idea. And then I would say, obviously, one of the articles or both of the articles get amended to look like this, and one of them has a take no action. So that's my thought process. And I hope that the planning commissioners will come around to be supportive.
Okay, Don, I think Peter has a
Yeah,
question
can you
for
explain why John Kitchener couldn't do what he wanted to do? Can anybody
I
explain
watched the
to me?
meeting, Peter, I watched the meeting after the fact, And there seemed to be, in my mind, some confusion over the way Robert's rules works. I thought that he should have been able to bring forward his proposal and have a vote on it. But there was discussion about whether the first
It was
motion to
it was
support the
procedural
planning
rather than-
article passed and whether it needed to be reconsidered and so on and so forth. I think that that meeting was a little problematic with just how it all transpired in my mind. And it would have been better if it was facilitated and if everyone was actually in a room together, would have been a better process.
Thanks, Dawn.
Okay, so thank you, Don. So would you like to go over the details of the compromise? Because I think everyone's familiar with what your article says. So
Okay.
this is what you
Yeah.
would like it to be.
Yeah, I will. Well, I like the other one better, but I will agree to this. And I think the whole group of petitioners, like, I believe that this is reasonable. So Stephen, can you put it up on the screen?
I didn't actually receive it, but I did not get a copy.
I forwarded to him, but are the emails just going through slow or something?
I don't know. I'm getting.
Okay, we'll put up, but you
I
have
have
to
the
from the
whole
packet, yeah, and it's just very small changes, so. Let's see what this
I
says.
wish we had a printer in here.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if it just didn't.
I did receive it.
Oh, you did get it.
I did, but Steven said he didn't, so I'm trying to forward to him, but it's not going through.
Well, I can just work off this. So this hasn't been in your packet. This is a chart that shows, it's actually built off of something I prepared and the facilitator vetted. And it just goes through who would actually be on so, I'm just gonna tell you, so the NPDC new is what is on the warrant right now. The citizens proposal is also on the warrant, and I will tell you what the compromise proposal is. So the compromise proposal would also have 11 members. It would have 2 members of the planning board appointed by the planning board. It would have 3 at-large members and 2 of them would be appointed by the county commissioners, and 1 of them would be elected.
Excuse me, who are the commissioners?
Select board.
The
Select
same
board.
5 select board members are also the county commissioners, so they would convene as the county.
And one is elected at large.
They would be at large, anyone could apply. And there are, sorry.
So we're gonna have people that are gonna be appointed competing with people that get elected. Usually somebody that gets elected the position has more power than somebody who's appointed. We know that as finance committee, we're appointed. It's not the same thing as a select board. So I can understand how you could be in the same job, in the same category, and part of you be appointed and part of you be elected.
Okay, well, there's precedent for that. The CPC is like that, but I take your comment and we can discuss it as a concern.
Okay, keep going, Hillary.
Yeah, right, so we end up with 3, but 2 of them are appointed and 1 person would be elected by the voters of Nantucket. It continues to have 1 member of the county commissioners appointed by them. I just want to be clear, the language in the article that I would continue to advocate for does not actually say 1 member. It says 1 representative of the county commission appointed by the county commission. So I'm gonna start to use that language. It would be 1 representative of the Conservation Commission appointed by the Conservation Commission. There would be 1 member of the Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust appointed by the Affordable Housing Trust. If you scroll down. There would be 1 member of the Land Bank appointed by the Land Bank. There would be 1 member of the 1 representative of the Nantucket Historical Commission appointed by them. The next and a final member is 1 representative of the social services sector appointed by, 1 representative of the Council for Human Services appointed by them.
Excuse me, if I may, why wouldn't you have someone from the business sector represented?
Right, so that is one area that we are, that they're advocating for, but that we're not, proposing to agree to. And the reason is not because we don't want a member of the business community. We would just like those people to be at-large members or come from another board or commission. So, for many years, Matt Fee served on this commission as the county rep. And obviously, he's also a businessman. I have an MBA, a background in finance. I think there are other ways. The problem with the chamber is very specific. The Chamber of Commerce is not a municipal organization. It's a private 501c6 organization, which is a registered lobbyist and a political organization. It has a private board. So one of the things that we are very committed to in this exercise is accountability and transparency. And the select board, whether you think it always works or you always agree with it, they do have a very well-defined and transparent appointment process. They advertise for the appointment. They announce them at the select board meeting for weeks. Once people apply, they publish all of the names in the select board packet. Then people are invited to come and introduce themselves. And then after that, they vote. So it's very transparent and it's very public. And I really, I don't think having a private organization that's a lobbyist group with a private board is appropriate. And
That's not the only solution.
I'm sorry?
That wouldn't be the only solution. You're assuming that the only solution would be the head of the chamber.
Well, it's not an assumption. That's what they've asked for. And
No, that's what I'm asking for. I
Yeah.
don't know, but they might have asked for that. My question was, why wouldn't you have someone from the business sector? I understand Matt Fee, businessman, member of the select board, but he's also a member of the select board first and foremost, right? So if you want to have an independent view on the business side, because long range planning for me, it better include the business overall, the business interest,
Yeah.
is to make sure you've got someone who actually represents or who can speak, or be representative of businesses on this
Yeah.
island.
And that might be something that you would include in your motion. And the way it would be achieved is that the select board, when they appoint their at-large, if all of the other people come from other boards, and that's true today, and that will be true in the future. So it would just be the at-large folks. So you could suggest that the at-large person has to be a business sector. Personally, I think that the select board, when they make appointments, they look at who's already on the commission and they think that we have, how do we balance everything given the people? And we're a small island. Sometimes you don't have a lot of people applying and then you don't have anyone to fill the requirements. So there's pros and cons to it.
I do think though, following on to that, you have somebody from the Council of Human Resources, which I think is somewhat representative of the nonprofits on the island, which are also a business.
Yes.
And I don't see anybody from the private business side, like we've had Wendy Hudson in the past, who's a significant business person in that commission. So I think it's a good idea to, when you break it down, I think for me, I look at it and you've addressed a lot of issues on the island, but I feel like there's still some holes. For me personally, of course, I'm always looking at Parks and Rec and, I would like somebody to be thinking about that. How can we get more access to year-round recreation for people? And is anyone thinking about that island-wide with the resources we have and the limited amount of space we have? So there are other things.
I don't disagree. It's just a matter of logistically how to make it work and how to avoid unintended consequences of getting yourself in a box, or putting somebody else in a box with their trying to execute their duty. And again, we're responding to, what they put forward and trying to bring these together. So, shall I continue?
Keep going.
Yeah, okay, so those are the people. It's 11 members. And it's 11 members today. The next idea was the term limit. The article that we passed in 2023 had a 9-year or 3-term limit. We came back at special town meeting in 2024 with a softer term limit. And it's still, even though it shouldn't be, in my opinion, a big deal, there are people who have a real problem with it. So sincerely, this was very hard for me to give up, and for other people to give up. Some people didn't care so much about it, but we're willing to, if we can pass this and agree to all of these things, to not have a term limit. So no term limit. Then there were some, this is softer stuff, but it's still important. This is the language. So the left column is what is currently in section 1 of the special act. This is a special act that we're amending, which is why it needs to be a home rule petition. And we have been consistent, in proposing this, just a little bit more specific. This kind of language is in a lot of planning commission enabling legislation. And you can see the NPDC also had language that they preferred. So our proposal, and it's in the copy that Jill has, is just to mush these together. And I think pretty much everything stays in, although instead of balancing, we have suggested using the word considering. So I think it's, you can read, I can read it, but and we would put this in front of you to consider. But the basic idea is to put the language together to get what would.
Okay. Again, in there, you say, hold on, Stephen, I can't read by email. You for the environmental, social, and economic resources
Yes.
of the island. Do say that,
Yes.
but then you're going into very specifics again around environmental issues, then transportation and housing. And I think there are more issues here than just those things. So if you all do work out the language, I just hope maybe you'll consider that. But I like the part where it says
Madam
physical.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Joan?
There seems to be a sort of a mixed zoning. There's a lot of zoning stuff in this right hand.
Well, zoning is,
You mean the people who are
Yeah.
representing the commission? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, the,
Oh, this language.
yeah, the language. It sounds to me like more of a zoning committee.
it's definitely not supposed to sound like a zoning committee.
Pardon?
It's not supposed to sound like a zoning. I mean, this is a planning commission and it's really supposed to be preparing. Well, let's keep going because this is the mission. Okay, section 1 is the mission. Section 2 is the purpose. The responsibility. This is like mission and purpose, and then the second one is the responsibility.
Be real.
Are we sure we can't get?
I know, I've sent it to Stephen 3 times. I think maybe the town is like, not sending it through, like maybe it's sitting there on a server.
Yeah, mystery guest.
Sorry, y'all, this is unusual.
It's not working properly. It's definitely not.
What?
The internet. I can't get an outside website. I was just trying to look something up.
Oh, really? Oh, do
Oh,
you
do you
think
think
Charles
there's
thing
some
could be
kind of-
here?
In your- Who can turn the Wi-Fi off and on again?
But we can't, since we're in the middle.
Can't do anything with that.
Can you go to your hotspot on your phone and then maybe you'll get your email?
Or you on Nantucket Guest too?
Yes, but I just switched to my phone. And maybe that'll help.
Yeah, your phone should work.
Okay,
I mean, it's showing as sent.
yeah.
And it's sent to Stephen Hunter. I copied her.
Was it sent on the
Suspicions of
internet or
that.
was it sent on the phone?
I sent it
Yeah.
on my Wi-Fi.
Jill, what are we looking for?
Sorry, Jeremy, we were having some technical difficulties. Thankfully not related that we had the other day, but we're still having technical challenges.
I can just. Okay, this is section 2. Okay. So, thank you. That's what we're supposed to see. So section 2, the citizen proposal was to make no changes to the responsibilities of the commission. So whatever, and keep in mind, this is important to understand, as a regional planning agency, the Massachusetts 40B regional planning law also applies. So we're recognized as one of the states 13 regional planning agencies. And we're governed, or the governing enabling statute is the 40B law. So this language all tracks to the state 40B law. When I say this, I mean what's currently there. So we didn't propose any changes. We felt like our regional planning agency was responsible for what the state wanted us, wanted regional planning agencies to do. But we did add that the commission shall produce and make available for the annual town meeting a written report. And so our proposed merger takes a lot of their language. So our proposed merger, should I just read it? It's not that long. The commission shall be responsible for the preparation of comprehensive plans for the physical, social, and economic development of said county and town, shall provide leadership, support, and coordination for the Nantucket region, and shall make recommendations for actions to implement said plans to the responsible county, town, state, and/or federal agencies. Such plans shall include, but not be limited to, the preparation of studies, research reports, and maps of natural resources, land utilization, economic development, recreation and conservation, transportation, and population characteristics. The commission shall serve as an advocate outside of the region to foster cooperative efforts to resolve issues, solve problems, and explore opportunities for the region. In order to carry out these responsibilities, the commission may retain such experts as may be required. So we just tried to put it together, but one of the I would say the most meaningful difference between the NPDC's proposal and what's there now is that what's there now says the commission shall be responsible for the preparation of comprehensive plans. And the NPDC proposal also includes that they can prepare these plans, but it's a little bit softer. It says the commission shall provide leadership support and coordination for the Nantucket regions by developing these plans. And we felt that it was arguably letting them off the hook a little bit, and that they really are there to prepare the comprehensive plans. Now, this gets into a very interesting, I find fascinating discussion about, it gets back to Joe's point about why is the planning board there? Like, this is all planning activities of an area. You need to be doing your subdivision control and special permitting and zoning bylaws. You need to also be doing the long-range comprehensive planning. They're two activities. Planning boards can do both. You cannot have a master plan acknowledged as valid for a region or a town unless it's accepted by the planning board. So we're trying to mush them together and get everybody's language in, but without this idea of weakening the responsibility of this commission. We want them on the hook for comprehensive planning. Yes.
Madam Chair, you mentioned master
Just right,
plan.
I'm the chair.
I'm sorry.
Joe, you have a question?
You mentioned master plan.
Yeah.
Is that what this organization is going to do? The most recent master plan is 2009.
Yeah.
Which is kind of silly. And the world's not the same as it was in 2009.
And it was
I would
yesterday.
like to make a point about that, though. If you all read the planning notes that Hillary provided, which I thought were adorable, I love this thing. I'd like to do just like that and put it on that paper and those graphics. I loved it. Especially loved the study they did on Orange Street and how many cars went by. I would live to watch somebody stand on Orange Street and do that again on the exact same day. I thought that was great. And Curtis Barnes, our fanboy Curtis, we call him, his wife was on the NPDC back then, and so her name was on there, and I really enjoyed seeing that.
She was chair of the planning board for a really long time.
So, in that, what I thought was kind of interesting about it is I read it and I thought, my gosh, this could be today. And so a lot of the issues that they were talking about in 1990, they're very similar in terms of what that commission is looking at and what they identified are some of the issues. So I highly encourage everyone to read the notes. It was good education for me. I wasn't here in 1990, so.
Yeah. I forgot did you want me to answer the question?
No.
Okay, please you repeat the question.
The question is what is the relationship between the organization that you're talking about and the master plan?
Right.
And is the master plan, why hasn't it been updated since 2009?
Okay, so I'm gonna try to not editorialize too much, but I also really want to sincerely answer your question. So factually, the master plan is a 10 to 20-year plan. So our side will say the master plan should have been updated 7 years ago, and that process should have started 9 years ago. They would say the master plan is still valid, which is true. And it's a flexible plan, and we're still working towards it, and these things take time, and, you know, it will get updated. We would say that there have been 3 attempts to update this plan since 2017. We're on the 3rd. And the first 2 were accompanied with Gantt charts and deliverable dates, and this will be voted at the 2023 town meeting, and they've fizzled out. It's also a fact that those first 2 updates, 2017 and 2020, were steered and discussed and owned at the NPDC, which is the planning board, with Friends acting as the
I'm sorry, I'm lost. I'm completely lost.
Okay. The answer is there would be differing people depending on who you talk, differing answers depending on who you talk to about why the plan is not updated. There's an update going on right now. It's happening under the oversight of the planning board. Judy Barrett of Barrett Planning is the consultant who's preparing it. Our group would say every single comprehensive, AKA master plan that has ever been prepared for Nantucket over the last 53 years has been prepared by the Planning Commission, which is the planning board and the other at-large members and other appointees. And they are the right place to do it because they include the conservation, regulation, housing, all of the boards that do these things. We have this kind of uber board, and they're responsible for long-range planning.
And is that the NP?
The NPDC is the uber planning board. Exactly. But it is also the case in Massachusetts that a master plan can be prepared by a town, by any group that the town wants to appoint as the steering committee. The select board can appoint a steering committee, the planning board can appoint the steering committee, the planning board can be the steering committee. On Nantucket, the NPDC has always been the steering committee until the most recent initiative, which is ongoing, and it was started in February of 2025. And we have developed a vision. We have completed an inventory, but we do not yet have a deliverable for that plan. And the lack of that is part of why we're doing this. We're very upset about it.
What do you consider inventory?
It's, what do I just consider.
You used it as a word. And you
Yeah,
said you
it's a defined term in the planning process. Before you actually make recommendations, you have to do an inventory of what's here. So we have a master planning page on our town website, and it's called like the master plan project.
Those who aren't as smart, is that a list?
It's like a 450 page document with everything about Nantucket.
And where did that come from?
It came from Barrett Planning.
She wrote a 450 page document?
Leslie, is it 450 pages?
I'm not aware of how many pages it is, but if I may, the planning board is
sorry,
responsible under state law for the master plan. It's not the planning commission. It's the planning board.
The planning board must accept the master plan for it to be a valid state plan.
And the most recent one is 2009.
That's correct.
And
That must be accepted by the.
why is that?
Why is it so long ago?
Yeah.
You just said it was a 10 to 20-year plan, so I don't know that they
No,
have to do it.
Well, one wasn't on the committee back then either. Maybe somebody was on the committee could answer that question.
There is a process that is happening, that is a master planning process. I went to the meetings.
Yeah.
I saw some of the people here at some of those meetings. I don't know what the outcome of that is or if it's finished, but I know that something was in process and being worked on. I wasn't aware that the NEPDC had something to do with that.
They don't.
Okay,
At this
so
point,
it is
they
the
do not.
planning board who is.
It's only the NPDC. Other than employing our planning director, and we do have a director, we do have a CEO. And she's here. other than employing the director. And she is overseeing and responsible for the plan, working with the planning board, of which I'm a member. And we have, you know, we're very invested in getting this plan done. But it is not happening at the level of the planning commission. And I would say there is disagreement in the community about why that is and if it makes sense.
So really, all of this has to do with aligning the planning board and the NPEDC.
Do you need two?
Wait,
Yeah, just,
wait,
I'm really
wait, just stop.
These are really good questions.
Okay. Leslie, did you want to say something about the master plan and how it works?
I do want to say
please
something
go.
about the master plan. So in other regions, there are 13. All other regions have multiple cities and towns within their region. Nantucket's the only regional planning agency that has one county within the one region. So taking the language from 40B about the comprehensive planning, I mean, that makes more sense when you have multiple towns and cities where you have to take all of their individual plans and put them together so that they're more comprehensive for the region. Here with our one town, we have lots of long-range planning going on. We have the master plan that's underway. We have a coastal resiliency plan. We have a parks and recreation plan. We have a select board strategic plan. And I could go on and on and on and on. And actually, our consultant Judy Barrett has said that she hasn't seen any other towns that have the level of current and long-range planning that we have going on, that we do a lot of good work here on Nantucket. And, you know, the municipality does a lot of the work. We don't need to reproduce that as a commission when we're all part of the same community. So that's why in the planning commission's version, they've omitted some of that language to make it clearer that the commission is there to support the region, to provide leadership, to provide technical assistance, but we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, yeah. You don't need that overlap. or to spend the money
And
on
our
this.
view is that if you do not have your planning and zoning function connected to your long-range planning so that they can reinforce one another, that you will be in the situation that we are in now, where we have a lot of intractable problems that we're not making enough progress on.
Peter,
If we're being asked to write and present a change to the amendment to the article, I think that at this moment, we should have somebody who supports the NPEDC proposal speak to that before we can go any further with speaking to yours.
Sure.
well, we're gonna hear from them at some point too.
Yeah.
What, Leslie, do you
Can I
want?
just make a comment on
Yeah.
that? I agree with you, Peter, 100%. And the commission has not been presented with this compromise. The chairwoman, vice chair, director, we haven't even seen it. So, you know, coming to you first is giving everyone who's watching a first glance at the proposal. And I think that's a bit of a flaw in the process.
But as chair, I made that determination that we would look at this. It seemed like your meeting last week was just a little bit short. And it sounds like she'd had a change of heart since then and wanted to present what she had. Can I ask you here, are you all gonna be meeting again to discuss another proposal, or you don't know yet?
We don't know yet because the proposal hasn't been presented to the commission.
Okay.
To even have that discussion. That was my flaw in the process. That wasn't directed at you as the chair.
No, it's okay. I'm doing something a little differently today. I know that. I understand that. But you all, everybody in this room knows that we really want something to come together. So I feel like we're at the last 15%, but sometimes it feels like we're 90 yards apart. And so Chris, do you have a question?
I do. I wanted to go back about, we skipped past the local residency requirement, and I just had a question about that.
Okay.
And also we can perhaps have some discussion, but it's presented as new, and I'm trying to track it. Is that not the case on the current, but it is a new proposal from the NPEDC? And is it truly not exist in the current, or is it just de facto in the current, given how the board's made up, that you don't have as much at large and elected members and things like that? And I just like to understand that issue better, if anyone can address that.
Are you asking Leslie that? Because I think that was in the NPEDC version.
Well, it got skipped over in sort of this compromise. We didn't, it wasn't mentioned, and I guess I'm asking anyone who wants to answer.
Hillary hasn't gotten to it in
It's not, I
for her
think it's,
version yet, but
We did go past it as we went down this outline.
I don't see it.
okay, then go up. Um. Is it not on there?
One more, right there, right there.
Right. So may I answer that?
Please.
Madam Chair. So, yeah, so the current special act is silent on whether or not you have to be a legal resident of Nantucket County. And this has really not been anything that anybody has brought up. It came until a month ago. So Leslie proposed it to the NPNEDC for inclusion. They like it. Our group feels that it's, probably a good idea if you don't have a lot of elected members and you don't have, a transparent appointment process. Our concern, we feel that our proposal does have a transparent appointment process and elected members. I think the compromise proposal is silent on it. But if it's something that became a sticking point, my only concern would be that it just is not confusing. I think if we went around this room and said, what's a legal resident of Nantucket County, we'd probably get 3 different answers.
well, I think you have it defined in that version, right?
It's not defined. It was, Leslie did present a definition, which is the town clerk's definition. A legal resident is a voter or someone who's returned the census. But I think that if you asked like common understanding, there would be a lot of different understandings. So I would just say that I don't think it's necessary because the select board, if you're running, you're a voter and you're subject to public scrutiny. If you go in front of the select board, you're subject to public scrutiny and they're choosing you. I just don't want to have confusion and I felt like it was put in there, because of I don't think it was a very collaborative thing to put it.
I think they looked at our current leader.
Peter.
and that's a similar proposal to that.
Anthony, I'm trying to call on everybody. I know we're having some collaborative discussion here, but please try to go through the chair. It's really important for the minutes.
If I may, I would prefer that we don't stay silent on this topic. I really do, and I find it a bit odd that you choose to stay silent, not you personally, that the represent the group choose to stay silent on it. I think it's actually key. I think it's key to all of these types of committees, and when you're working on behalf of the island, particularly in something like this, long range planning, deep involvement, being able to coordinate around. I think we do need to have some clarity on what that actually means. And not some amorphous thing, which is this many days, that many days you're either a resident and a voting piece or you're not. Right. So I would like to see some clarity on that one. And if I may also just go back one piece on the term limit. What I heard, I was clear on what you said, and I understand it. My question is more around, is that the best interest of some individuals who just are hung up on having no term limit, or is it in the best interest of the town? Because I would certainly make an argument to say that having term limits actually is a very good thing in terms of rotating through qualified personnel, people who actually can speak to new changes and things in those committees, than just, okay, you're there until someone decides they're not going to vote anymore.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree, but we're trying to compromise.
Yeah.
And so we all have to, and we are not, I was hoping to have this type of discussion literally a year ago. I mean, we've asked for a long time. The citizens proposal has been through multiple town meetings. The NPNEDC proposal has kind of been announced, and it is a fact that there has not been a public hearing. It's a fact that there's been one public information session, December 11th, for 2 hours at 9 a.m. And so these, we don't know, but we are all wise people and we're all experienced with these issues. So I think we're just trying to land this and have the dialogue so that we can come to some consensus. That's really my hope. I know that we're not gonna like everything.
Peter?
So based on what we have up there, there's really no restraint on who could be on the committee or who could run. So for example, somebody could live in New York and come up on Fridays and maybe be here for 2 weeks in the summer, but they could be on that board.
They wouldn't be able to be a voter if that.
Yes, you can vote anywhere, you can only vote in one place.
So Peter, being the only person in this room who's actually had to be on trial for this, I can tell you that there are very clear laws in Massachusetts from the Secretary of State. You cannot be living in New York and here for 2 weeks in the summer and be a Nantucket voter. You cannot. You can, if you go into the town clerk and you say, I'm domiciled on Nantucket, they do have to register you, but you would not pass the test. If you were challenged, you would need to be ejected.
Okay. Jeremy, did you have a question?
I did.
Go
Jill,
ahead.
it's another process question.
Sure.
We've been having a good discussion here, but kind of ad hoc here and there on a few of these things. And
Yep.
I must tell you, I'm personally a little confused. What is our process of, because I think we're being asked to create a, not an amendment, but a discussion of what we would support and what the voters ought to support. But how do we?
We're not doing any motions today. We're just going to hear about her compromises today.
Okay.
We've heard about her article the last 2 years. This was some new information, so I kind of wanted to focus on what was new about it and what I think she wants to present to the MPEDC. I personally am hoping that they will have another meeting. I personally hope it has a facilitator there and that they can go over what she's presenting, if they have something new, but we really need these people to come together.
Yes.
And I've been saying this for a long time, and I really believe that everyone coming together behind one article is the best path going forward. I do. I think to debate all these little things on town floor, this is what we're here for, though. We can hash all this out of the finance committee. That's what's great.
Yeah.
But when it gets to down floor and you all want to just, have a discussion over this and that, I just think it really confuses people and it aggravates them. And so I don't really want to go down that road if we don't have to. That's my goal. And it sounds like that might be your goal as well and the commission's goals. So I really hope that you all will have a meeting and talk about what it is that you want to focus on. And I hope that there's some alignment. Do we have any other questions?
I just want
Joanna?
I think with regard to the residency requirement, I don't think that in any of the other regional planning commissions, they would take a resident from another county in their commission. Right, so if you are, I do have some experience with the Berkshire County Regional Planning Commission.
Mhm.
If you didn't live in Berkshire County, you wouldn't be serving on the Berkshire County Regional Planning Commission.
Mhm.
And they also very often had the Regional Tourism Council chair on the planning commission. So the Chamber of Commerce also worked very closely with the Regional Planning Commission. So I don't think that those things are necessarily poor ideas. I think that it's because of what Leslie said. We are one town in one county. And so therefore we have no diversity of bringing together people from other towns who are going to have other perspectives. And so the makeup of this board becomes important because we don't have that diversity.
Mhm.
So I am not opposed to it. I think it should be, you should be a resident of Nantucket County. I'm not opposed to the Chamber of Commerce piece because I do think there's a role for the regional tourism piece on this board. That is an important part, an important driver of the economy of Nantucket.
Mhm.
And I think that that is an important thing for someone to represent on the NP and EDC.
Well, a lot of people agree with you. I'm sorry, can I? If I
Go ahead.
agree with you, Joanna, I know you can make the argument. I would like to just check the Berkshire County because they may be on advisory boards, but I don't think they actually have an appointment, but I can check that. We are very strongly opposed to a private membership organization with a private board. You know, the chair of the NPEDC is a member of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. She's a director. And before her, Leslie was on the executive committee. We need we have transparency problems. So that is why
I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't think they're They're not mutually exclusive, right? So if there's a transparency problem, that's a transparency problem. But I don't think it's and the 501, the chamber and the way that they have the 501(c)(6), whatever it is.
C6.
501(c)(6), that just means that you're allowed to lobby. It doesn't mean that you do. Right, and the chamber, I don't believe, has a paid lobbyist. I do know that they have lobbied on workforce housing issues, but their board has to vote for them to do that. And all of those things, even on a private board, have some level of required transparency.
You're making really good arguments, Joanna, but we're trying to come together and this
totally-
is just a
okay.
hard no for us.
I'm not gonna hang on to this. I'm just saying I
About the
don't,
business community or
Yes.
just that particular being.
Maybe some other way to do it.
there may be some other way to do it.
I do think it's important personally. It doesn't matter to me if it's from the Chamber of Commerce. I think you just need somebody that's like a longtime business owner, just someone like Matt V. I mean, I just think that's really good.
With,
See how
I'm
big
just
business
trying to
changes.
say one more thing.
Please.
The perspective of the person being connected to the Regional Tourism Council would be important for the NP and EDC because they're connected to Mott. They bring the
Right.
perspective of the economic drivers of tourism in the state of Massachusetts. And if this is truly a regional planning commission, then that perspective is valuable.
Yeah, I just think, if I can respond, I just think you have to recognize that you can't handpick and say, I want you, like, people have to come forward and the organization is gonna change depending on who wants to serve, and the framework has to be flexible enough to be able to put the right person on when that person is available. I think we presented everything. I just also want to say about the process. The reason I'm here today is because I was scheduled for hearing today. So I came here to present my article. I was really, really hoping after the meeting on January 6th and the meeting on January 15th, that we would have reached a compromise. We did present a compromise, which did nothing but make all of my fellow commissioners very angry. And we went expecting to be able to present our compromise and have a collaborative discussion, much like what we've had here, and come to some consensus. And we had something like this in mind. I know John Kitchener tried to make a motion, which I asked multiple times to be able to hear and couldn't, was not able to hear because of the reasons Dawn mentioned and Jill mentioned. So we think that we are very close. This compromise proposal represents huge concessions. There are people who are not happy about it. But it is what we will accept. And we do also welcome the opportunity to talk with the Planning Commission, but obviously as a member of that public body, I can't go around and talk to everybody I have to come to you, talk about the business at hand, which is responsive to the context of the warrant having been closed, the prior meetings.
Yeah.
Present what I think is best for Nantucket and what I think represents our group, and hope to have your help in landing this one.
Thank you. Leslie, did you have a comment to make about process?
No, I wanted to make a comment earlier about, and Joanna actually hit on some of my points. The Planning Commission talked a lot about including an appointee from the Regional Tourism Council. The Chamber of Commerce has two prongs. They have their member-driven side chamber, and then they have the Regional Tourism Council. They're one of 14 acknowledged by the state through the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism. They receive state funding, and we thought that was a good tie. Like they're Regional Tourism Council, Regional Planning Agency. There's a direct tie there. And then relative to the residency suggestion, there's references in chapter 40B regulating regional planning agencies that refer to a residency requirement. We have our own home rule petition governing ours. It's silent on that, so we thought that it was important to include it. During the short-term rental discussion at town meeting, a lot of people voiced concerns about having, people who don't live here making decisions for those who do. So that's sort of consistent with that theme. And it's in the land bank legislation, which is what we pulled the language from. And John Giorgio and Nancy Holmes both had the same interpretation, which I believe is statutory, about what defines a resident. So there shouldn't be anything confusing about that. Thank you.
Okay. Do you feel like you have been heard here with what you wanted?
I think so. I mean, the only last thing that I just did mention, but kind of obliquely, is that what is on the warrant from the NPDC has this idea that they appoint from sectors. And so like the housing person, it's a housing sector, and the Affordable Housing Trust can appoint anybody they want to fill that. It doesn't have to be someone from the board.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and
Okay, that's a good
we
clarification.
prefer our language, which is a representative of the Affordable Housing Trust appointed by the Affordable Housing Trust. The reason is that if you're gonna be promulgating the appointment process out to a bunch of different boards, are they trained on how to appoint? Are they advertising? Is it fair? You know, you just kind of lose control and lose some of this transparency. That's one. And the second issue is that it's sort of solving for a problem that we don't have, because the point is for this to be an Uber board. And so you kind of want the people who are working at the Affordable Housing Trust on the housing launch. You want the people who are knee deep at the Concom understanding the applications. You really kind of lose something if those folks, and we've never had a problem with these boards sending somebody. So we are asked, we're not keen, we're not accepting, we're just saying no to the sector. We want it to be a representative. And that language, you know, it does leave some wiggle room, because you can be a representative. But that's the language that's in there now, and that's the language that we want to stick with. So I think.
Is that true about the other appointments as well, or just that one?
The language for all of the boards that have a right of appointment is a representative of such and such board appointed by such and such board. And that's the language that's in the current.
So it doesn't have to be a member of that board.
Technically not, but you'd have to be, it sort of steers it in that direction, but
Okay.
technically you don't. And there was that issue. Ken Bogrand apparently served on the CPC as the land bank representative.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah, so that can happen. It's just, it's not really what we want to have happen, and we didn't want to promote that.
Okay. Leslie, one more comment.
Okay, one more comment. On the sector base, Ms. Rayport just said that it's solving for a problem we don't have. It's solving very much for a problem that we do have, which is that people on the various boards, committees, and commissions within the town are asked to serve on those boards, committees, and commissions. And then they're asked to serve as appointees to other boards, committees, and commissions. So I think there's an issue with people being stretched too thin and being asked to do too many things, serve too many roles. And this would allow those boards, committees, and commissions to pick someone from outside of their individual board, committee, or commission, and pick a person who may not already be serving within the town, but who has an interest in that particular topic.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope that you all can come together in another meeting. And hopefully that's, again, I would really like to see it with a facilitator. I've been seeing that for 2 months, and I'm glad that you had the one opportunity to, but I hope you get another.
Yeah, I too asked for a facilitator. So just in terms of next steps, it's not up to me to convene the NPDC and talk about this. So I will, of course, be notified if that's gonna happen. But as far as your board, will you let me know when you're gonna bring it back on the agenda for a motion?
Yeah, we would. We're not doing any motions before February 3rd. I keep saying. It sounds like you've got to get your proposal to your board chair and see if you can get it on your agenda, and we could try to accommodate that and work around that date if you all come together again, and then maybe there'll be something that's just one voice. Maybe.
Okay. Leslie, can you,
Books brings
have you,
eternal.
or do you need me to send you something?
I think you should do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you all.
Thanks for your time, Ms.
Yeah.
Report, and for all the clarification. A lot that goes into that, a lot. Okay, next up, I think we're going to hear from Miss Oliver and Miss DeCibio, and they'll want to come up and talk about the wind stabilization fund. I'm sorry, we don't have town council here today. He's at a conference with most of the other town staff. So if we have questions for town council, he's obviously not here. So we might have to wait for meeting to get some clarification on things.
Okay, yeah, my name is Val Oliver. I'm a resident of Nantucket, And this is one of my board members, Amy DeCivio. We are Act for Wales, interested in what's happening with the wind turbines. First of all, thank you, everybody, for letting me pitch my article to you tonight. Annual town meeting is important to our community, and this is a really significant part of the process, so thank you. My article for town meeting is to create an offshore wind stabilization fund. Offshore wind has been expensive for Nantucket, both environmentally and financially. Tonight, I want to address the economics and the financial burden of offshore wind with my article. The article lists many of the past, current, and likely future expenses Nantucket will have to incur related to offshore wind. One example, which we're all familiar with, is the 2024 blade failure and the associated expenses that went along with that, including cleanup, safety, legal, town, staff, etc. The following July 2025, our select board and the town's lawyers recognized this burden with a list of demands to Vineyard Wind. The demands included a request for Vineyard Wind to fund a $10 million escrow account to cover future blade failure expenses for just that one project. Despite Vineyard Wind ignoring that demand, I and many others on island believe that that was a prudent request. And yes, Nantucket needs to be prepared with a fund. It's well documented that blade failures are common. My organization has warned about this for over 6 years as one of our biggest concerns. Vineyard Wind will have 62 turbines holding 186 blades at completion. However, there are more than 1,000 turbines planned off our shores, and that equates to 3,000 blades. Think about that and the potential for failure. What happened here in 2024 was just a piece of a blade. Although a common occurrence, when it's going to happen is unpredictable. So again, I think we need to be financially prepared. I believe the entire community will benefit from this financial security provided by an escrow fund that I'm proposing. Right now, we are financially exposed. Again, using the blade failure example, there is still no provision in the Vineyard Wind construction and operation plan that was revised after the blade failure for how to deal with a blade failure. Not only does Vineyard Wind not have a plan, Nantucket has no financial assurances for contending with blade failures in the future. The same goes for any other prospective impact related to these projects and future projects. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I hope you were all able to read the answers to the questions that I provided, and I'm here to answer anything you'd like to talk about. And let me introduce Amy DeCivio, one of the board of directors of our organization.
Okay, thanks. Peter, you want to go first?
Would you be happy with an insurance policy from that they pay for an insurance policy for $10 million?
Want me to answer that?
Yeah.
I think that would help, but it doesn't really cover all the concerns. So as Val mentioned, the blade failure is just one.
Wait. All I'm talking about is the $10 million fund that she talked about. Not talking about any other issues, just the money.
The $10 million,
yeah,
correct. So if you see in the article itself, the 10 million, a stabilization fund would cover a lot of different things. And I think Val was just using blade failure as one of the examples.
Right.
Something that could
But I
happen.
don't care what it covers. I'm just talking about the money, that there'd be $10 million, no matter what happens, to fix it. And that, as long as it was agreed upon.
To fix what?
Whatever whatever needs to be fixed, if a blade breaks or if.
Right, but if you read the article, it's not just about things you could insure. So it would also be used, let's say, for lawyers. Nantucket currently has sued around the South Coast Wind Project. There's no blade failure there. The project hasn't begun, but Nantucket has filed a lawsuit on that. So Nantucket is paying lawyers. Nantucket has paid lawyers in the past. So it would be things around that.
Have they
In the
paid more than
event-
$10 million so far?
I think that's not a question that we know the answer to. The actual agreements with the attorneys have been, kept private. Maybe that's something that the FinCom knows, but that's not something that the public is aware
And how would you access the money? Let's just say they gave you the $10 million, which no one will
Well,
ever do.
It's a stabilization fund.
It was-
Yeah, and we
It has
were
to get voted
thinking,
out at town meeting.
Right.
yeah,
Did you add, Jim, I was gonna ask the same question.
Oh,
Where
sorry.
would this money come from? $10 million.
Well, I think you're hoping that they'll put money aside.
For the windmill,
Right.
yeah.
So this is a budget item for the town now.
Well, so through you, President, I think the funding could come from the budget. It could also come from money that has been funded to the community already via GE Vernova, Vineyard Wind. There's potentially money that's already there that could certainly seed it. But I think, I think what Val and I really paid attention to was when the select board put forth those list of demands, and that was a $10 million fund just to cover blade failure around one project, and there are many projects coming, and that's just one aspect of all the expenses the town is incurring. Some of the expenses would be things that you could predict, others are not things that you could predict. And so to keep the town protected around all of these things, for example, currently, the whole destiny of offshore wind is very much up in the air. I don't know if you're following what's been going on, but the Secretary of Interior has put pauses on several projects, then the developers sue the BOEM, and it's going back and forth. But at the end of the day, there's a chance that some of these projects may not come to fruition, but yet we have 62 turbines out there. There's a chance that some of these projects will go belly up and file Chapter 11, and then whose responsibility will it be to take these turbines down? And who may have to litigate to push to have that happen, or to spend money to address your legislators around it. So we think it would.
chance maybe that some projects ultimately go forward and there's blade failure.
Correct. So in whatever it is, this is already costing Nantucket money. And as more projects are in the pipeline or come online, this will be more exposure for the island. And so again, going back to the select board's thought about creating a stabilis or an escrow fund just around blade failure around one project, it seems prudent that Nantucket should be secure on this and should be covered, because we really feel like the island is exposed right now.
Joanna?
So, and maybe this is just a clarifying question around the Vineyard Wind piece. If in fact their permit is withdrawn or they go bankrupt, how is the removal of those windmills going to be paid for?
Well, that's a good question, because the financial assurances were waived by the last administration, so that is a good question.
Yeah, so right now the requirement for, like, for example, for oil and gas, for any other projects like that, the federal government requires developers to escrow funding to decommission and put everything back the way it was. So that's a great question. In this case, the developers needed to secure funding, and having to escrow that amount of money was making it hard for them to escrow funding. So the mandate for that was waived. So currently there is no, there are no assurances that they could pay for it. So if let's say, that project is terminated, the question is who would pay for it? Clearly not Nantucket, but Nantucket would probably want to incur some expenses to make sure that someone does do it. And otherwise that becomes a graveyard out there, and then it's a rusty big project off our coast.
Jeremy's online. Jeremy, do you want to go ahead?
Yes. Yeah, obviously the Biden administration did push through these projects without any sinking fund to decommission them. And the legality of that can still be challenged. It just strikes me that what you're trying to do here, which is very noble, we want to protect the island, but we're asking us to put our own money into a fund to protect ourselves. And Peter's comment about finding an insurance policy is a far more efficient use of capital than just putting $10 million into a fund. And it also strikes me that there could be a myriad of uses for this. And it's almost as if, while it's exceedingly well intended, I worry that a lot of work needs to be done to create great specificity on this, because we're really asking ourselves, the island, to, in a very inefficient use of capital, to fund our own catastrophe.
In advance.
Yeah.
But, sorry,
Amy, go
through
ahead.
you, President, can I,
Chair, I'd
Chair,
love to be
sorry.
president.
Through you, Chair. I think around the thought of catastrophe, Jeremy, that you're saying, or through your President or Chair, sorry. An insurance policy may be a very good plan, but we're also incurring a lot of other expenses already to do items, B through E in this, or we will have to, or if we have not already, that would not just be related to a catastrophe. We already are hiring lawyers to litigate against some of these other projects. And it's costing the island a lot of money.
Who's we?
I think she means.
I'm sorry, the town of
Nantucket.
Nantucket. I'm saying we. I should have been more clear.
Or Act Now, or where?
No,
No,
I'm
no,
sorry,
the
the town of
town.
Nantucket. When I said we, I just mean our community. But the town of Nantucket is already incurring these kinds of expenses already to file against the federal government for example, for approving the South Coast Wind Project. So the town has already done this. The
Right,
town has-
oh.
Go ahead. Well,
Jill, can
Go
I go?
ahead. Yep.
So I guess this gets to my point a little better. And that is, we have blade failure catastrophe that possibly an insurance policy could be a better way to do it in a cheaper way. We have the need, the demand side, for a massive litigation fund for at least half a dozen different issues to make the federal government do what it's supposed to do as far as these developers are concerned. There could be a ton of different things. My concern here is it's so open, it's a little bit too open-ended at this juncture. And that it's a litigation fund for a number of different purposes, and it is an insurance policy. And they kind of need to be explored, because you can end up, if you don't have great specificity on this, and I know you can't be totally specific at a time, you can run the bill up big time.
Chris, did you have a question or comment?
I do, and I guess I agree with a lot of the questions that have been raised, and I'll take your open-endedness, Jeremy. I'd look at it maybe from a different lens, which says it's too narrow. We currently have I think, yearly we put aside a $500,000 reserve fund for unexpected emergencies. And I'm sorry Brian isn't here to address this issue. I think what's going off in my head is I'm saying, okay, someone's come forth and said, maybe we've underestimated some of the risks the town's facing. And it could be from windmills, it could be from coastal resiliency, it could be from a whole bunch of other things. And I think the question for Brian is the $500,000 enough?
Right.
But I'd hate to see us put aside money that is really narrowly restricted on what we could spend it in case the disaster comes from a different direction. But I appreciate the petitioners bringing this forward to say, hey, here's an area of risk that you may be underestimating that should be part of that overall calculus. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone, but it does to me.
Well, Chris, as you've been on this committee longer than anybody, can you remind us about the stabilization funds? Because we would have to vote we'd have to vote the money to get used. Well, we'd have to vote for it to set it up. Right. And then every year you would vote for it to be used, I think, right?
Yeah, and it's only been, we've only done that once that I can recall, which was around COVID.
Okay. So they're a little process oriented, I guess. It's not something you can go and just tap into the money immediately. I think it's just how the town's always described those funds to me.
But Jill, can I just compliment what Chris has brought up? And that is, if you think about it as a risk mitigation strategy, that's really what we're talking about, is funding a risk mitigation. And there are a myriad of litigations to pursue for that. And that's going to cost money. And we can't tell you today, no one could, what those might be or how long they would take. And it could be against the developers, certainly against the federal government's agencies for the work they did or didn't do in the prior administration. You have, I think, Peter's idea of exploring, insurance is a far more capital efficient way to do this. But I think there's something in all of this, but I think it needs to be with Brian's help. We got to kind of think about it in greater depth.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Joanna?
But there is money that could go into this fund from the GE Vernova fund and also from the original Good Neighbor Agreement. So the town has received money that could be used to offset this risk. It could be that the dollar number needs to be discussed and decided, but there is a revenue source that could support this.
Right, but the revenue source that we have now that they had accompanied to,
I get
people
it.
are making claims, right?
Yeah.
So that money's not being set aside for kind of this risk assessment that you all are talking about.
How much was that money, offhand?
Do you remember how much?
The
that
GE
thing
Vernova
was?
settlement, I believe, was for $10 million, of which two different attorneys were involved and took a portion. I'm not exactly sure what that was. And I also believe then there was there's a distribution manager that's been hired to handle the disbursement of funds.
Yeah, was that Versus or something like that? The name of
I
it?
can't
Jill, I
Yeah,
sit on that committee, so I know a little
Oh,
bit.
you
about
do?
it.
You were the guy.
Oh, okay, well, can you
so it
hold
is-
on a second, Jeremy?
I'll do my best to explain what it is. And it is one of the more convoluted constructs I've ever seen in my life. I think somewhere between, and I don't know the exact number, 8 and 15 million bucks was supposed to come into the town. And it was to be from the Good Neighbor Agreement from the developer of the windmills. And that was split into 3 components. The town got some money. The Maria Mitchell got some money. And then one of the other charities on the island got some
The
money.
Community Foundation, I think.
Yes.
got one.
Okay. And then every year,
We're not supposed to talk about this.
sorry, hang on, guys. I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, that's not the GE Vernova settlement.
No, no. Okay, so then
No,
the heck
and that's.
happened?
Yeah, we see you fine, Jeremy.
you do. Okay, well, I can keep talking. I don't know what happened here.
Okay, well,
So you got the 3 different entities that have the money. In the town's case, once a year, Libby, the town manager, decides how much of the money that she has and has received that year is to be released to the committee to spend. Most of it's on 3 things: moving electrons, solar panels, moving dirt, coastal resiliency, or moving hearts and minds, things about coastal resiliency. Those are the 3 sort of overarching things. And then Maria Mitchell, I don't think you guys are involved. Well, you still had some money, but I don't think you're involved in it anymore. And then the town releases money. And this year we had, I don't know, $150,000 to distribute. Last year we distributed $800,000. But it's a very complex thing, and it ends up doing a little bit of good. And that's about what I know.
okay, but that's different than the money that came from the GE Vernova. So
Well, no,
that's
it's-
something. But yes, but I think that I don't really want to get into all the discussion. Again, town council's not here, and
Right.
so I prefer us to just stay on the topic of what you want to do. But thanks, Jeremy, for the information. That's great. But we know, as Joanna said, that there is money that is coming in as a result of some of this
Just
these
when-
blade failures.
Jill, can I ask or make another statement? And also, when everyone is making this calculus around what the expenditures are, one of them is sort of, I don't want to say hidden expense, but it's just not an obvious expense. When the town signed the Good Neighbor Agreement that covers 2 huge lease areas out there, that's the Vineyard Wind project and potentially 4 more projects. The attorneys initially were paid under a contingency basis. And we were very vocal that we thought that was improper because it was incentivizing, or I should watch my words. It could potentially incentivize the attorneys to act more like mediators and try to close the deal rather than actually be protective of Nantucket. And I think it was recognized that there was a potential conflict there. And I think that we've been told that setup, that agreement or arrangement has been altered, but we don't know that.
Okay.
So what's important to note though is that they've done a lot of work for the island for over a many year period now. And not all of those costs are obvious. They were taking a percentage of what the agreement was that Jeremy's talking about.
Okay. Chris, you have a question?
Just a quick comment, Jill, which is from my perspective, the question of whether monies we've received or monies we will receive in relation to the windmills, whether it would be prudent to put a portion of those monies or a large portion of those monies aside for this purpose as one question. To me, is very different than do we go to the till somewhere else and set up a reserve fund for this. I think the first one's deserving of it makes a lot of sense and deserving of a lot of consideration, but I think those are really different questions.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You mean between the
think-
stabilization fund and
He's identified exactly what the issue is. Are we going to the town to ask them to set aside money that's not connected to
Right.
these issues? Or are we going to the town to say, or are the petitioners
It's
going to the
specific to
town to
this.
say exactly what Chris just said? There are monies that are coming in from this.
Right.
Should a portion of them be set aside to mitigate the risk?
Right.
That I think is a worthy conversation.
But
And also, can they legally be done?
Jeremy, hold on. Martin's talking.
it would seem to me what Jeremy said a little bit before, that we've got, as an example, we've got resiliency to worry about this town. If we're only putting about $500,000 a year, that's probably not enough to cover those costs. But we're now being asked to measure the cost of risk in advance of those costs occurring. If you're really going to set aside a pool, we should probably do something that's a very big, broad pool for risk in this type of occurrence. These are unexpected risks, and that will be the way to protect against it. I hate to see us putting aside $10 million. It may never get used.
We didn't
Insurance
have
policy
that.
makes the most sense.
Exactly.
yeah.
You
I
should.
don't think you had that amount.
They can buy a lot of insurance.
Yeah,
You know, I
A
mean,
million
we had a
is-
blade risk and, you know, it was an unfortunate thing. The rate that you quoted in yours, I think 1 in 200 blades fails. I'd love to know what the statistics are in offshore wind farms. We're hardly the first person to have an offshore wind farm. They're all over the world.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what these statistics are and the costs of those and how they're covered.
So I can't answer all of that, but I can tell you that whether the turbines are on land or on ocean, they fail. And the bigger the blades, the bigger they fail. And the ones that you're seeing out there now are 853-foot turbines, and the ones that are slated for future projects are closer to 1,100 feet.
Yeah.
So the taller they are, the bigger the blades and the more stress and the higher.
But do we,
High
I mean,
risk.
have we looked, inquired, have you inquired to see what, I mean, you can go to Palm Springs as an example. And
Yeah.
the number of blades out there is absolutely
Yeah.
staggering. Those are not very big windmills.
Yeah.
Right.
They're onshore.
But
I think we
It
will.
would be interesting to know how
So we
these
did it.
people, other people protect against this risk, if they are.
I think it's a valid.
So Jill, in the packet, there was an attachment to this, and there's a report that the DOE commission that does address blade. I think it starts on page 13. So there are some pretty good facts that are in there. One other thing I want to mention, we don't mention a dollar amount in the article. We say a fund should be created. We are explaining that the town suggested a $10 million escrow fund to cover blade failures with respect to one project, just as a reference point.
Right.
I would also say that money from the Good Neighbor Agreement would probably never be allowed in this type of fund. If you read the contract, that Good Neighbor Agreement would probably prohibit it. I don't think Vineyard Wind would want the funding that they put in to be then used in a fund to potentially litigate against
them.
Vineyard Wind. They're pretty specific, and I think they have sort of a say on how the money is spent. But I don't know what the provisions are in the GE Vernova settlement. But that's a potential also. I think we would agree an insurance policy that Peter suggested initially, at least for part of this, might be a really smart idea. But I think, Val and I and our group are concerned about the risks here for the island.
Thank you. He didn't raise his, he did. Mr. Carroll? Would you like to make a comment, or do you have a question for the sponsors?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to turn my own volume down so it doesn't echo for you. There we go. First of all, thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Cliff Carroll, a long-term real estate agent on the Nantucket Board of Realtors. The 40 years, 45 years I've done business out in the island. I would like to speak just briefly. What I would like to do is just read a brief piece of information that just came out of the legal filing last week in reference to what's going on out there, just to emphasize how real and immediate the true threat is in reference to Peter raised a question, and Chris was talking about we should maybe even broaden this because of the potential risks. But if you can just give me 1 minute, I've actually condensed this to keep it short, but this is very important and it's very current. This is quotes out of the legal filing that took place just about 2 weeks ago. The quotes that I'm about to give you are from Stephen Simpkins, who was Vineyard Wind's turbine team lead. And this was part of the testimony in reference to trying to reopen the ability to work on the existing project that's under a stop work order. And again, I'm going to just summarize this and I'll be very quick, so I appreciate your patience. Mr. Simpkins, again, is Vineyard Wind's team lead, and this quote again is from the actual case filing. Quotation: "The wind turbines were designed to be constructed completely and only be in what is referred to as a hammerhead state, without blades for a brief amount of time during installation." He then goes on to say that he's warned of the 3 main liabilities that are existing right now. First, the towers are equipped with lightning protection system, but the system's receptors and conductors extend along the blades. Without the blades, the towers are essentially a lightning rod at risk of igniting an electrical fire. There are 10 of these stanchions out there right now where the blades have been removed, so you have the 500-foot tower with a nacelle on it with all the mechanical and the oil systems inside it. He goes on to say the 3 giant holes where the blades would be installed are also sitting open with tarps covering them as temporary protection. That means water, ice, humidity could get into the nacelle, the top part of the tower that houses all of the electrical and mechanical systems which are not designed to weather this kind of exposure. Quote, "Not only will this lead to prolonged offshore work replacing damaged equipment, but it also puts the safety of the workers at risk." And then again, quotations, "Electrical cabinets that have experienced some level of corrosion become less safe and increase the risk of what he refers to as a flash event." Flash event is basically a fire or an explosion. Lastly, he says, the 500-foot towers are being roiled by winter wind and waves, which causes them to sway. The blades are designed to capture that wind, reducing its force on the towers. Without them, the fatigue, and this is a quote, "fatigue on the towers will be exasperated, and the design has accounted for a limited amount of such fatigue over the total life of the structure." That is a quote from Vineyard Wind's lead person in the lawsuit, giving the reasons that they're trying to get it back up and operating. The United States government has told them that the classified documents, radar interference, and that is not allowing them to put those blades back on right now. I bring this up because back in the fall of, I believe it was 24, when we had BSEE and the federal government at the town selectmen meeting, I had asked the gentleman from the BSEE whether or not they had the ability to reinstate the decommissioning bond, which the Biden administration waived after this project was permitted. That decommissioning bond, in reference to Peter's question on whether or not $10 million would be enough money, that decommissioning bond would have been in the $1 billion range, not 10 million, not 100 million, but in the billion. The estimated cost when you take these projects down offshore is approximately 3 times the cost of the installation. We keep mentioning the blades, and we experience the blades on the beaches, and we've already seen just from one blade. I actually went out there. That was the furthest tower away. What we have to keep in mind is there is also a transformer substation, which has hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil in it. In the federal report, when they were doing this construction, their own report showed that in the event of a catastrophic failure, or in the quotation of Mr. Simpkins here, a flash event, that oil can actually reach the beaches of Nantucket in anywhere from 2 to about 5 hours, depending on the season and the prevailing winds at that time. We lucked out and we avoided a bullet when we just had the blade break. In the event that this transformer oil goes into our beaches, our economic zones, our shellfish beds, our aquaculture, and basically the economic engine of Nantucket, which is the beauty of those beaches, and especially on the exposed south side, the numbers that we're talking are astronomical. The odds of it, after hearing Mr. Simpkins' current status of this project and the threat that is sitting out there right now with these 10 projects that don't have blades on them, are incredible. The financial committee and we can't talk about the town select committee and the agreement that was made, but it did not take into consideration the event of an oil spill. This finance committee, I know that we are talking here on Val and Amy's bill in reference to the stabilization fund. I don't think that the town of Nantucket can afford not to be prepared for this. We've already seen how we practically had to sue Vineyard Wind to even get them to react, to get them to report. If in the event that something like this happens, and now their own people are telling us that as this project sits out there, the rise of the risk of a lightning strike, the flash event of an explosion or a fire are increasing with every day that they're sitting out there. So in the end, and I'll shorten this, and I'll just summarize this.
Please do.
I would ask that the finance committee support the motion by Val and by Amy in reference to the stabilization fund. I don't think that Nantucket can afford not to be prepared for it. I ask that the finance committee support the article. I guess you have it referred to as Article F in your agenda. As the true financial and environmental risk to the island of Nantucket, its beaches, its natural resources, its aquaculture and economic zones could literally result in hundreds of millions of long-term damage, possibly even billions of dollars. We cannot depend on Vineyard Wind to do the right thing. We've already seen that. And in the agreement that Jeremy was speaking to, if it's anything like the one that they had with Barnstable, they actually weren't even going to pay until they got their construction loans, that type of information. There was a lot of triggers that are probably not even going to happen on these second projects at this point. I think financially,
Mr. Carroll, we've let you go
we've
on
already
for a
paid
while.
for
I think you've
attorneys,
been on
and I
longer than
think
the
that one of the
sponsors.
most valuable things that we could possibly do would be to encourage these attorneys and/or someone from the town to follow up with the gentleman from BSEE, which was the federal government, who indicated at that fall of 24 meeting that they did have the right to reinstate the decommissioning bond. But at that time, he said he couldn't do it until after they completed their investigation. I think one of the most frugal things that we could do is ask either the attorneys that have already been paid or have someone from the finance committee and or the select committee request or revisit the BSEE offer to reinstate the decommissioning bond that was suspended by the Biden administration. And thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time. I greatly
Thank you.
appreciate it. It's an
Yeah,
important
thank
matter,
you.
so thank you.
Okay, well, that was a good statement. It was very comprehensive. Okay, is there anything else? Do we have any other questions from the finance committee? Do you have anything else? You, Cliff?
Yeah, I know Dylan Fernandez represents himself as the man of the people. He was the first one that represented this windmill project to us at the library years ago.
Yeah.
And he promised it would be bonded. Maybe we can contact him. He's now promoted himself or got elected to a bigger position in the state. Maybe the state can come up with some money.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank-
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Do you have any more comments that you all want to make or?
I think we've covered it.
Yeah, no, this is great. And, I think the first time you came was, under different circumstances and things have changed a little
Oh,
bit.
thank you very
since
much
then.
for your time, everybody,
Yeah,
really.
thank you.
Great question.
At least it gets people thinking about it.
And thank you for filling out the questionnaire because it was really helpful and a lot of people don't do that. I highly recommend that sponsors do that, but it's really
So,
helpful to.
I didn't remember that was done the last time, but I think that was a really important. The questions were really good.
But
And,
answering questions in the box,
Yes.
you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I thought it was helpful. It cuts down on the time, but I think the questions were thoughtful and, right, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think the questions, I didn't remember them the last time, but I think they were a great idea.
Thank you for
Thank
listening.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Here's somebody's pen.
That's all.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I love all the questions. I think we have to vet them. And that's the way to go. That's why we're here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's it for today for the number of. For talking about sponsors who wanted to come and present today. That's what we have, and then we'll have some more on Tuesday. Did you get the agenda out to everybody for Tuesday?
No, think about tomorrow.
Okay, we'll send the agenda out for tomorrow for
Sharon,
Tuesday.
you know who's coming on Tuesday?
Yes, Mr. Barnes is coming on Tuesday, but you want to change your date? Curtis?
No, Tuesday's on.
Okay, hey, Curtis is gonna come Tuesday and then Mr. Flair, I think.
No, he is not.
Mr.
It'll
Webb
be,
comes?
yes, Hollis.
Mr. Webb is coming on the Tuesday. Right, so those are the two that we know about, and then obviously anybody can still come.
We'll let you in.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe.
Something we don't know. No.
Next time someone asks you if he's turning off his
Yeah.
speaker, so he doesn't get an echo, that's discouraging from doing it.
Is there any other, are there any committee reports? I need to give you a capital committee report, actually. We have finished our deliberations, we've done our rankings, we're gonna review the list that we have of everyone's rankings, and then we'll have a report and we'll bring it back to the committee, and I expect that to happen in the next 3 weeks, I hope so. Get some people traveling, so we got a little delayed this year with our report. And then next week, of course, we're gonna do budget reviews. Did you send them the list on the budget and what department heads are coming?
I'll send that tomorrow as well.
Stephen will send you the list to know what departments are gonna come next Thursday versus the following Tuesday.
Monday.
Monday, so.
Are we adjusting the meeting schedule in February? Briefly talk about that.
We might need to adjust the meeting schedule in February. I'm still working out with Stephen. But I think some of us are not here February 9th and 10th, so those dates might get canceled. And I will email you all about that to make sure so that you have it in an email. You don't.
We could try and have them slightly earlier in the day. I will be in Australia and having the down in the middle.
On the 9th and 10th.
I probably.
Yeah,
from the
that
second
date-
to about the 14th.
Those
so-
dates really don't work for us, so I
Okay.
think that's. Any other committee reports?
Lawsuit.
Martin?
We have one question about this, if you change them,
Yeah,
where are you gonna fit them up? What do you think? I don't.
I think that we don't think we need. to- Yeah. We just have a slightly smaller number of citizen warrants this year, so I think we can cram it in, but we might have to go over 2 hours.
Depends on the
sometimes.
warrant. Yeah.
Yes, I know, we're still looking at the warrant, so. So our next meeting is Tuesday, the 27th, it's at 4 PM. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Peter?
Aye.
Anthony? Joe?
Aye.
Martin? Joanna? Hi. Jeremy?
Hi.
Chris?
Aye.
And Jules and I, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I'll be over.